Her family still had many of his contacts, and she'd always thought that perhaps she'd marry a banker or a doctor, someone respectable. But if she was no longer a virgin... I can't.
You will.
Del Toro was generally a soft-spoken man, but once his temper flared, he showed a dark and violent side that illustrated just how little he cared for the women in his employ. He beat them sometimes, if they fell out of line, and Imogen had lived in fear of the day he ever raised his hand to her.
You don't understand. If I find myself in trouble, I'll lose my other position, and thereby my way of supporting my family.
Supporting a child at this point was completely out of the question. Del Toro shrugged, his chins wobbling with a disgusting ripple.
My kittens will teach you a few new positions, and you can work here.
He chuckled at his own terrible pun, before sneering at her with derision.
Oh, I forget. You are too good for us, too reputable to be seen with us during the day.
That isn't what I wonder if Isabel would think herself too good for this place.
I could send Bartolomeo and Giorgio to fetch her to me, just like I did you.
Del Toro slid the bill beneath his nose, testing the scent of so much money.
She's only just 15,
Imogen gasped, a desperate fear winching the breath from her lungs.
You said you wouldn't bring her into this, that she and my mother would never know.
I've employed girls as young as 13 before, and I made you that promise before I was handed 20 pounds.
He shrugged.
What does your family think you do all night? Are they so stupid they don't already suspect that you are a whore?
I told them I work extra shifts at the hospital and give the money to you.
It's you or your sister.
His voice and colour began to rise, heralding his dangerous temper.
You are getting old to be of much use to me for long. Perhaps I will not need you for the 2 years it would take to work here, but Isabel is young and supple. It would be easy for me to turn her out, and there would be nothing you could do.
A sick weight landed upon her shoulders, compounding the exhaustion caused by working and living under such stress. At 23, she was indeed beginning to age out of the profession. Not only that, she was dangerously close to becoming a permanent spinster. Reaching down, Del Toro grabbed her arm and yanked her to her feet, his fingers digging into her flesh with a painful pinch.
"Get back there,"
he snarled, shoving her toward the curtain.
"You do whatever he wants, and if he doesn't leave the most satisfied customer ever to pass through this door, I'll have my men ugly your face after they teach you some humility, so you'll be of no use to anyone."
Woodenly, Imogen turned toward the curtain. Its crimson and black arabesque design was faded and dingy from so many men tossing it aside on their way back to the bedrooms.
"Room 17,
Del Toro called after her. Of course it was room 17. Only the best for the Duke of Trewyth. Room 17 was one of the very few suites above stairs in the narrow, long building that housed the bear kitten. Climbing those stairs felt like scaling Kilimanjaro to Imogen, who was out of breath by the time she reached the top. Not because she was unused to stairs, but because her corset, combined with the band of fear squeezing her lungs, didn't allow her to properly inhale. Room 17 might as well have been the gallows. It wasn't that the man within didn't appeal to her. His beauty was unparalleled. But it would mean that she'd truly become what she'd never imagined herself to be. A prostitute. Reaching for the latch, Imogen paused, placing a hand low on her belly where it seemed an entire flock of birds flapped and churned their wings in equal measure to the violent trepidation she felt. She closed her eyes and sent a prayer for strength to a god who would condemn her for what she was about to do. Then she stepped inside, shutting the door on her innocence. Trewyth was already naked. Her shock had her flattened against the door as she gaped at him with blatant stupefaction.